Ooh. I get used to this. The Lexus ES has gone electric, and we're here to find out if dropping the gas engine out of one of our favorite under-the-radar luxury picks has actually made it better. Let's get testing. We're Edmunds, and we test hundreds of cars each year on the road and at our private track, so you get the most trusted reviews. If you want to know which car, truck, or SUV is the best, then stick with us. Now, what you're going to pay for a new car depends on dealers in your area. That's why at Edmunds, we've got tools that tell you what you should pay so you know if you're getting a good deal or not. There are links in the description, or just scan the QR code. Now, this ES, it starts at just under $49,000 for the electric version. And this is crazy to think about. That's actually cheaper than the hybrid model of the ES. So things are kind of flipped around there. This ES 350e luxury trim that we have here, though, this is going to cost you about 60 grand with all of its options added on. First up, every EV needs to go through the Edmunds EV Range Test. We've range tested well over 100 EVs at this point, starting with a full charge and driving on a mix of city roads and highway slogs at the same average speed every time until the battery has just 10 miles of range left. The ES 350e can offer up to an estimated 307 miles of range, but with the larger 21-inch wheels on our test vehicle, that estimate drops down to 292 miles. On our test, it beat that, but just barely, only by 1 mile. Against competitors like the single-motor versions of the BMW i5 and Audi A6 Sportback E-tron, the Lexus falls well short. But since it has a smaller battery than those two, its efficiency is actually pretty close. Charging speeds also don't favor the Lexus. Its peak charging rate falls well behind the other two EVs. At just 149 kilowatts, it's about half of what the A6 can do. We also use that charging and efficiency data to calculate how much range each vehicle can add per hour on a fast charger. And in that metric, the Lexus's 451 miles of range added per hour beats the BMW, but falls far behind that Audi. That thing juices up lightning quick. Then it was time to grab the numbers from our test track. In single motor form, the ES is anything but rapid. It had an estimated 0 to 60 mile per hour time of just 7.4 seconds, and it failed to meet that in our testing by a couple tenths. That is well behind both the i5 and the A6 in the acceleration department. Both of those cars are down in the low 5s to 60 miles per hour. With only 221 horsepower to its credit, the ES is down over 100 horsepower to these other two vehicles and has less than half the torque of the Audi. Yeesh. But where the ES was really disappointing was in the quarter mile. That took 15.7 seconds, but the bigger problem was the trap speed, as it crossed the line at just 89.3 miles per hour. The Lexus really feels like it runs out of breath once you get over 60. It takes 11.1 seconds to reach 75 miles per hour, and that makes passing or merging on the highway precarious. Both German EVs will reach 75 miles per hour in the time it takes the ES to reach just 60, and their trap speed in the quarter mile was easily in the triple digits. We'll have to see how this compares to the hybrid form of the new ES when that comes in for testing soon. The ES took 124 feet to stop from 60 miles per hour and felt pretty confident in panic stops, though there was a bit of nosedive thanks to its softish suspension. The Lexus, Audi, and BMW all weigh in the neighborhood of 4,800 pounds, so it wasn't surprising to see the A6 have a similar braking number, but the BMW, it was much shorter thanks in large part to the i5 we tested coming on a stickier summer tire. Around our 200-foot dry skid pad, the ES pulled 0.84 lateral G, and that once again put it behind this pair of competitors. If you're looking for performance out of the ES, you are barking up the wrong tree. Comfort and luxury are still going to be the calling card for this Lexus. So it was time to take it for some laps around our test track to get a sense of what it'd be like behind the wheel in the day-to-day. Now the ES, it might have missed its estimated 0 to 60 time by a couple of tenths, but to me, that's not really a big deal because around town and at lower speeds, it still feels pretty quick. The thing that stuck out to me more though is the 15.7 second quarter mile time, because that is pretty slow and it shows how much trouble this thing has accelerating from about 60 to 80 miles per hour. So if you're getting on the highway, you'll be able to get up to speed somewhat quickly, but if you're out there and you're trying to pass a big truck or get around someone, it's going to be kind of difficult in this vehicle. You can actually put your foot just all the way to the floor and it just really doesn't feel like anything is happening at all. That's something you're going to have to watch out for. Now, this is the first electric application of the TNGA-K platform, and that's under a lot of stuff that Toyota makes. Everything from the Toyota Grand Highlander Hybrid all the way down to the Camry and now the ES. Now, the ES does a decent job of controlling body roll, but the steering, it's super numb. This isn't the most fun car to drive, especially when you add on the fact that it isn't that quick. What surprised me though about the new ES is that the ride quality, it doesn't seem as good as the old one. That was one of our favorite things about the old ES. It was just super comfortable luxury cruiser that you could just kind of glide around in. This one, when you're in the city, if you run over a pothole or a road seam, you definitely feel it in the cabin more. Now, this being an EV, I thought that the ride quality might actually be better, and we're going to get a hybrid version of the ES in later this month to see how that rides, but yeah, it's just not as comfy around town as I wanted, and that's a little bit disappointing. The ES's raw braking number wasn't that impressive, but we did appreciate how easy it was to slow the sedan down smoothly, and that's something that's not a given in all EVs. Now, there are several different settings for regen, but you're not going to get one pedal driving here in the ES, and that's an omission that we don't like. When it comes to driver aids, the ES has basically everything that you would want, except for a true hands-free driving system. Now, the lane keeping, the lane centering, the adaptive cruise control, all of that works great, but its traffic jam assist system, which is hands-free, only works at speeds of up to 25 miles per hour, and after that, it's going to beep at you to put your hands back on the wheel. It's just not a great user experience. The ES is pleasant enough to drive, it's pretty comfortable all things considered. The only thing that you really wish for with this front wheel drive version is more speed, and a lot of it. Couldn't get rid of this line, even if you wanted to. The ES has grown in every dimension. It's taller, wider, and longer than the last generation. We'll see what that means for the interior in a second, but standing next to it, this really stretches the limits of what you would consider a mid-size sedan. At 202.4 inches long, this thing is about 1.5 feet longer than a Model 3, and it's even longer than the Toyota Grand Highlander Hybrid that we've got in our garage, and that is a 3-row SUV. This thing is certainly bigger and much bolder in its styling, but I don't think that I love it, in large part because of that black stripe running down the sides. It doesn't really do anything for me. And the funny thing is, if you wanted to hide it, you'd have to get this thing in a darker paint color, but I think that this actually looks much better in lighter paint colors, so c'est la vie. Now, on the front, the nose is really flat, and it reminds me a lot of the Lexus RX and RZ, but that's not a great thing because I don't think those are particularly good-looking vehicles either. However, if you look at these new front lighting elements, those are pretty cool. They've got two L-shaped elements in there, and that's definitely for Lexus, not for leave the stripe behind. So the Lexus ES doesn't have a liftgate, even though it might look like one, but it does have a powered trunk lid, and when you open it up, you're gonna get 13.3 cubic feet of cargo space. And this space, it's quite large. It easily fits one golf bag, and it could probably fit 2 or 3 others, as well as plenty of large pieces of luggage. One thing to note though, no matter which ES you get, if they're electric, that back seat, it's not going to fold down. So if you have to carry really big items, you're not gonna be able to do so in this Lexus. Now today, we're mostly just going over the highs and lows of the new ES, but if you want all those nitty-gritty details on this vehicle or any other new vehicle on sale, head over to our site. That's where we've got our full rankings, ratings, and reviews, and we update them all regularly. Here in the ES, you're going to get a 14-inch display, and if it looks a little different, that's because this is debuting a brand new infotainment system for Lexus, and it looks very familiar because it's basically a slightly reskinned version of the brand new infotainment system in Toyota that we first saw in the RAV4. The things that we like about this system are this customizable home screen and the fact that it's designed so that everything you're going to need is no more than 2 button presses away, so the menu structure has certainly been simplified. I also like that unlike other Lexus products, You don't have those knobs down here for the temperature that take up part of the screen. You do get some real estate back. Those have now moved down here. The whole interface is very clean, very easy to use. And if you're using the native navigation, it'll also help you route plan with charging, including Tesla superchargers, because it's got that NACS port now. And backing it up, you're also, of course, going to get wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay and a standard integrated dash cam, which is a great feature that a lot of consumers want. Now, Lexus kind of pulled a fast one on us with this interior, because when I saw pictures of it, I first thought that all of these buttons, they would just be haptic feedback. But when you actually use them, you find that they're just a little bit of fabric over an actual button. And if you're driving and you reach down, you can actually feel the little indents between the buttons. So even though it doesn't quite look like it, this control scheme, it's a lot easier to use than it would appear. I also like what we have going on over here. The steering wheel is the perfect size. The controls, very well laid out and intuitive. And this instrument cluster back here, you can also now mirror directions from Google Maps or Apple Maps, whether you're using Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, and that frees up the screen to be used for other things while the driver can still see where they're going. But if you choose the ES350e, you can also add on the executive package for just over $3,600. And that means when you fold down the center armrest, you get this cool control panel right here, and you can do lots of fun stuff with it. There's seating massage on both sides, heating and ventilation on both sides, and on the passenger side, you're also getting a fold-up ottoman to keep your legs supported. And you're also going to get separate climate controls back here for temperature, as well as a setting that can automatically detect smog and turn on the recirculation so you spare your lungs. These back seats are pretty much equally as comfortable as the ones you're getting up front, but I will say the materials, they do drop off a little bit as you come back. These doors don't feel like they're finished as nicely, for example. Now, if I want even more room, I can just press a button right here, and that will move the front seat out of the way even more and even drop the headrest so I have a clear view of the road ahead. Now, these back seats, they also have power recline, so I can get back here and be even more comfortable. One thing to watch out for, though, with the ottoman, it folds up like this with a button, and I'm just under 6 feet tall, and I barely sort of fit with this seat pushed all the way forward. Anyone who's any taller than me, their legs won't actually fit in this nice, comfortable seated position, so taller passengers, sorry, you might be out of luck. Lexus doesn't make an LS anymore, so this is the biggest, most luxurious sedan that you can currently buy from Lexus, but I wouldn't expect like a full-size sedan level of comfort. This is not anything comparable to like an S-Class or a BMW 7 Series in terms of raw space, but I will say, for something that's about mid-size, it's really nice back here. Before we wrap things up, if you've been enjoying our videos and find them helpful, please give us a like and subscribe. It's the best way to help us make more of them. And if you have any more questions about this ES or any other vehicles you'd like to see us test here at the Edmunds Test Track, let us know in the comments below. A big part of the ES's appeal is going to be its price. Even with this front-wheel drive version fully kitted out in luxury trim guise with the executive seating package and all of that fanciness, it's still going to cost less than the starting price of the i5, the A6, and even other electric sedans like the Mercedes-Benz EQE and the Lucid Air. And none of those cars will be able to match the ES on features until you add on extra packages and extra cost. If you do need more performance and still want a Lexus, the significantly more powerful dual-motor ES500e is available, and the good news is, even a fully loaded version of that sedan is still less than the starting price of all of those other vehicles that we mentioned. That gives this new ES a serious leg up when it comes to value. And as we noted, its interior quality and spaciousness hold up well against these other luxury sedans. So you won't be giving anything up on that end, especially with its big backseat. If you're looking for a luxurious electric sedan, the ES is going to check a lot of boxes for you. And as long as your priorities don't include performance, its lower cost than its rivals will give it extra appeal. Thanks for watching.